You've been told your whole life that something is wrong with you. That constant feeling in your chest, that racing mind at 3 in the morning, that sense that you don't quite fit in this world. They gave it a name. They gave it a pill. But what if they were wrong? What if your anxiety is not a disorder, but a doorway? Alan Watts saw something that modern psychology refuses to admit. You are not broken. You are waking up. And that terrifies everyone around you, because a sleeping world needs sleeping people. Today, we're going to explore the most liberating idea you've never heard. The idea that your anxiety, your restlessness, your inability to just be normal might actually be the beginning of the most important journey of your life. The cosmic joke. Alan Watts was a British philosopher who brought Eastern wisdom to the Western world. But he wasn't interested in making you feel comfortable. He was interested in waking you up. And he started with a cosmic joke. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. See, Watts understood something profound. We spend our entire lives preparing for a moment that never comes. We study to get good grades. We get good grades to get into college. We go to college to get a job. We work the job to retire. And then we die. Where is the living? The joke is that there is no destination. There never was. Life is not a journey towards some future happiness. Life is a dance, and you've been trying to rush through the music to get to the end. Your anxiety is your soul screaming that you've forgotten how to dance. But this realization leads us somewhere even more unsettling. The ego illusion. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. That voice in your head, the one that's anxious, the one that's always planning, always worrying, always comparing. That voice is not you. Watts called it the ego, but not in the Freudian sense. He meant something far more radical. Your ego is a completely imaginary construct. Think about it. Where does this you begin and end? You think your skin separates you from the world, but your skin is constantly exchanging atoms with the air, with everything around you. You are not in the universe. You are the universe. The ego is a mental construct, a useful fiction that helps us navigate society. But we made a terrible mistake. We started believing it was real. We started defending it, protecting it, feeding it. And when you believe you are separate from everything, you become terrified of everything. The ego is nothing other than the focus of conscious attention. Your anxiety is the friction between the fiction you believe yourself to be and the reality of what you actually are. And this brings us to the most terrifying question of all, the fear of death. At the root of all anxiety, Watts discovered something ancient philosophers already knew. Every worry, every fear, every sleepless night traces back to one fundamental terror, the fear of death. Not just physical death, the death of your status, the death of your relationships, the death of your plans, the death of who you think you are. We spend our lives building walls against impermanence, pretending we have control over a universe that never asked for our permission. But here's what Watts realized that changes everything. You cannot die because you were never born, not the real you. The wave cannot die because it was always the ocean. It just forgot. You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Your anxiety about death is based on a case of mistaken identity. You've been defending a character in a play, forgetting you're the actor. And the actor cannot die when the curtain falls. But knowing this intellectually is not enough. And that leads us to something Watts considered essential. The backwards law. This might be the most counterintuitive thing you'll ever hear. The more you try to feel good, the worse you feel. The more you chase happiness, the more it escapes you. The more you fight anxiety, the stronger it becomes. Watts called this the backwards law. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. In Chinese philosophy, this is called wu wei, non-action. Not laziness, but a profound non-interference with the natural flow of things. The harder you grip, the more slips through your fingers. Think about trying to fall asleep. The moment you try to force it, you become wide awake. The moment you stop caring whether you sleep, you drift off. Stop trying to fix yourself. Your anxiety is not a problem to be solved. It's a message to be understood. When you stop fighting yourself, you stop fighting the universe, because they are the same thing. And this leads to what Watts considered the most important practice of all, the eternal now. Where do you live? Think about it. Do you live in the past? The past is memory. It exists only as electrical patterns in your brain. Do you live in the future? The future is imagination. It has never existed and never will exist. Only now is real. Watts hammered this point relentlessly. Your anxiety exists in time. It requires you to project into an imagined future where bad things might happen. It requires you to ruminate on a past that exists only in your interpretation of it. I have realized that the past and future are real illusions, that they exist in the present, which is what there is and all there is. The present moment has no anxiety in it. Right now, reading these words, where is your anxiety? If you truly look, it's not here. It's always in a moment that hasn't happened yet. The cure for anxiety is not in the future. It's not when you get the job, the relationship, the money. The cure is available right now in this breath, in this moment. You just keep missing it because you're looking somewhere else. But how do you actually access this? That brings us to something Watts practiced daily. Thinking vs. being. We have made thinking into a god. Our entire civilization worships at the altar of thought. But Watts saw the dangerous confusion we've created. Thinking about life is not living. The menu is not the meal. The map is not the territory. The description of water will never quench your thirst. We have become so lost in our thoughts about reality that we've forgotten reality itself. We think about our relationships instead of being in them. We think about our work instead of doing it. We think about being happy instead of just being. Your anxious thoughts are not reality. They are descriptions of a reality that doesn't exist yet and probably never will. A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts, so he loses touch with reality. Watts practiced meditation not to become calm, but to see the gap between thinking and being, to rest in the space between thoughts. That space is who you really are. And once you find it, anxiety has nowhere to live. But there's a common misunderstanding about all this that we need to address. Spiritual bypass. Here's where many people get Watts wrong. They use his teachings to escape from life rather than engage with it more fully. They become spiritual escapists, using enlightenment as another form of running away. Watts never taught you to transcend your humanity. He taught you to embrace it completely. The point is not to become a saint floating above human concerns. The point is to be fully human, fully alive, fully present to both the joy and the sorrow. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Feel everything more deeply. Your anxiety is not meant to be transcended. It's meant to be understood. When you understand it, it transforms, not into calm, but into aliveness, into sensitivity, into awareness. The anxious person is not too sensitive for this world. The anxious person is exactly sensitive enough. They just haven't learned what their sensitivity is for yet. And that brings us to the most practical insight Watts ever offered: trusting life. At the heart of all anxiety is a fundamental distrust of life itself. We don't trust that things will work out. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust the process, so we clench, we control, we plan obsessively. Surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of the sailor who stops fighting the wind and learns to use it. Watts noticed something remarkable about nature. Everything in nature trusts life completely. The bird doesn't worry about tomorrow. The flower doesn't plan its blooming. To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. You cannot control life. You were never meant to. Life is not something happening to you. Life is happening through you as you. When you trust this, anxiety becomes impossible. Not because bad things stop happening, but because you stop resisting the only moment that exists. But how do you develop this trust? That brings us to something unexpected. Play, not work. We've been taught that life is serious business, that if we don't worry, we won't succeed, that anxiety is the price of responsibility. Watts saw through this completely. Life is not work. Watch children before we teach them to be anxious. They play, not because play leads somewhere, but because play is its own reward. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that existence itself is play. The universe is not a machine, it is a game. God, Watts said, doesn't work. God plays, and you are that playing. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. When you approach life as play, anxiety dissolves. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you stop treating them as threats to your survival. Games have challenges. That's what makes them fun. Life has challenges. That can make it fun too, if you remember how to play. And this brings us to the final and most liberating realization. You are it. Here's the punchline of the cosmic joke. Here's what your anxiety has been trying to tell you all along. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. That feeling of not fitting in, it's because you're not supposed to fit in. You're not in the universe. You are the universe. You are it. There is nothing to achieve. There is nowhere to get to. There is no separate you that needs to be fixed or improved or saved. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something the whole ocean is doing. Wake up to yourself. Your anxiety was never a disorder. It was a doorbell. It was life trying to wake you up from the dream that you are separate, small, alone, and mortal. You are none of those things. You are the eternal universe pretending to be human for a while. And once you really see this, not just think it but feel it in your bones, anxiety becomes impossible. Because there's nothing to protect. There's nowhere to go. There's only this. And this is everything. And this is you. Alan Watts spent his life trying to tell us something simple. Something so obvious that we keep missing it. You are not broken. Your anxiety is not a malfunction. It's an alarm clock. The universe is trying to wake you up from a dream. The dream that you are separate, that you need to be somewhere else, that you need to become something else. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Stop running. Stop fixing. Stop becoming. You already are everything you've been searching for. The anxious one was never the real you. It was just a wave that forgot it was the ocean. Remember, and in remembering, be free. If something in this awakened you, subscribe for more ancient wisdom that changes everything.